Hello, I'm Doug Langenfelder, Vice President of Chapter 221, Air and Space Forces Association, here in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And behind me is a Curtiss P-40 Warhawk. It's a replica of the aircraft that Buzz Wagner flew in the beginning of World War II. This memorial was designed to represent Buzz Wagner's bravery at a time when our nation was in a very dark place. So, who is Buzz Wagner? What did he represent to people? And why is he the namesake of Chapter 221? Come join me as we explore these questions.
So I'm sitting here and you can see behind me, I can't see it, which is why I didn't think to say it sooner. You see spread out the city of Johnstown. The city of Johnstown is a very special city. If you've never been here, please come. We are actually at the top of the hill. The steepest incline plane in the world is here, and we're very proud of it. It was built after our first flood. Now, if you have heard of Johnstown, it's more likely that the way you've heard of Johnstown is the Johnstown flood. Well, there were 3 of them in the last 150 years. The first one and the most famous one, that's mostly on Jeopardy, was in 1889. In that flood, there are books about it. David McCullough wrote the first one, most comprehensive one, The Johnstown Flood, and that was his first book, by the way. And he came and researched a great deal and was still able to do a few interviews. We have a flood museum downtown, and the National Park Service has a flood museum up at the South Fork Dam.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marty Kuhar, and I'm the Veterans Coordinator here at the First Summit Arena at the Cambria County War Memorial Hall of Fame. And with that in mind, I'd like to just give you somewhat of a tour of what we have here in the arena. And, and I think what we're talking primarily about is how Cambria County and the state of Pennsylvania has supported everything in our nation from the Revolutionary War on. In our case, the War Memorial here pretty much talks about everything from World War I on. So, for example, they say that over the time of our nation, we've had over 1,350,000 people killed in action. In our case, Cambria County, we have 1,223 members of our county that have given their lives for this defense. And I'm standing right now in front of the 201 of the World War I veterans who gave their life to the cause of this country. And if you could, also in the background, right next to our World War II casualty list, is also the awards for anything from service to courage, and including certainly the awarding of the Medal of Honor to, in our case, Cambria County has given 8 of our finest citizens for the Medal of Honor, 6 during the Civil War and 2 during World War II. And also, if you'll notice the second line of valor, which would be the Distinguished Service Cross for the Army and the Army Air Forces, and the Navy Cross for the Navy and the Marine Corps the Marine Corps is the Distinguished Service Cross or the Navy Cross. I think it's important to note that in Cambria County, we have 26 bridges named after veterans. 26 named after veterans throughout Cambria County. And with that in mind, we have 2 more that's in the works. They haven't been dedicated as yet, and I'm sure there'll be more in the future. We have another plaque here that notes that we had 49 prisoners of war, that we're aware of. And again, we only know what people give to us. I would like to talk a bit about our Military Hall of Fame, because it's the one military Hall of Fame that it's extremely tough to get into. So with that, we only have a ceremony maybe once every couple of years. And right now we have 62 members of the Hall of Fame. And it's probably our 2 most famous. We got Sergeant Michael Strank from the small town of Franklin, who was the squad leader who led and raised the flag of Mount Suribachi during Iwo Jima on February 23rd, 1945. And of course, it was taken by Joe Rosenthal, which became the most photographed photo throughout not only World War II, but throughout the world. Also, I think it's important to note that we have Admiral Perry from Crescent, Pennsylvania, who at this point is well known as the person who first reached the geographic North Pole in 1909. And of course, probably our other most famous individual is, at the time, Lieutenant Colonel Buzz Wagner.
When I was born, Buzz had already been killed for 2 months.
From a very early age, hearing family accounts and of his accomplishments during World War II, and also I looked at the many scrapbooks of articles and photographs and other memorabilia that my family had, specifically my grandparents, which are my mother's parents and were his parents. So from a very early age, I became aware that he was indeed somebody special. He had made a huge contribution during the war.
I first learned about Buzz Wagner because if you're from Johnstown, and specifically if you're anyone related to the Air Force or the military, I've always known who Buzz Wagner was. We knew what his picture looked like. So when I realized that the Air Force Association here in Johnstown was named for Buzz Wagner and all he had done, and frankly, I learned much more as an adult and probably paying more attention as an adult than I knew as a child.
A lot of the people in the community, the younger people probably, don't know the story, and it's a fascinating story. He was a legend, a local hero, an ace.
One of the greatest and most useful things I believe they put together was a full-time replica of the P-40 fighter aircraft that he flew.
For some crazy reason, I was surfing the internet and whatever and saw this ad for a for sale for a P-40 replica. It wasn't completed. A fellow in Memphis, Tennessee, Jack Landry, he had the aircraft almost completely done, and he put it on the internet for sale. Well, I took that information back to our next chapter meeting, and surprisingly enough, we all agreed that maybe we should go for that. So we had to start a fundraiser. You know, we're a small chapter, so we had a lot of money to raise. I believe $35,000 was the price for the final negotiated price for the P-40 replica. Jim Kirkstad, he chapter secretary or chapter treasurer at the time, and he developed different fundraising programs, and we did all sorts of different fundraisers, and a lot of the corporations, helped us out a lot.
Now, the biggest thing that I can remember is when we started our campaign to get the P-40 brought here to Johnstown, we contacted a company that made lapel pins, a P-40 lapel.
So we sold these replicas of his P-40, and it says Buzz Wagner on it, and we wear it whenever we can.
We also have a program for fundraising. We're always looking for funds. And we came to develop a project where we have a memorial brick walkway, a pathway with a bench honoring veterans, where we're able to sell the bricks, families can buy them, and they're engraved with the name of the service member, present or past, and it's been a very good project for us.
We've gotten different businesses and associations from the Johnstown, Cambria County, Somerset County area, different people wanting to be a part of not only the airplane that's sitting out here at the airport, but the walk. They add the names to the walk. We just got 15 more names that we'll engrave on the bricks, and we'll place them out there after the weather clears.
And then the local chapter of the Air and Space Force Association has also made a little museum inside the terminal of memorabilia for him, and that serves the same purpose. So, one of the proudest moments I had with regard to honoring my uncle was what the Air and Space Force chapter in Johnstown, Pennsylvania did many years ago. That was the repatriation of additional remains which became available that had to be put with those that were already at the burial site at the cemetery. The chapter put together a very, very impressive, they call it a repatriation ceremony, and it was very proud for me to participate in that.
We designed and put together a repatriation ceremony at Grandview Cemetery at Buzz's gravesite, and that was quite a nice operation we had. We had a lot of military units there from all over the state and locally. Buzz never had a flyover for his original funeral.
We didn't have the 250,000 people, but we had a nice turnout. There was probably a couple hundred people. We had the Air Force. As a matter of fact, 2 of the F-15s did the flyover, which Buzz never had because of the weather at the time they buried him was not conducive to having a flyover.
On behalf of Chapter 221, United States Air and Space Forces Association, thank you for spending some time with us today. God bless you.